I've gathered a bunch of really cool resources for you to take a look at, which will continue to sort of inform you about the security and privacy issues in the world, in America, because now we have different types of technology to do different types of things, which we used to not have in the past. And so if you are in Blackboard, you will want to go to Lectures. And once you're in Lectures, you can click on the course outline plan. If you're watching this in Udemy, come down here to the course outline at the bottom and click on that link. And it'll take you to this spreadsheet of all of our different things that we're doing each week. And if you go down here to 12 and 13, you will have all of these links for all of the material I'm going to show you right now. So I'm just going to preview a little of this material and tell you about it, and then you could go and pick and choose which one of these you want to watch, or if you want to watch all of them, which ones you do not want to watch. Whatever ones you want to watch is fine. But I really recommend watching them all. I think they're all super valuable, looking at all these different resources. So let me show them to you. The first one is a TED Talk called Malt Spitz, Your Phone Company is Watching. And so this is a guy who did a little investigative journalism and found out how much data is being gathered by the phone company and how difficult it was to actually get this data, which they gathered about him, right? And it's his own personal private life. And they're like, we have data on you and we're not going to give it to you. But eventually he got it. And so this is a really nice TED Talk, pretty interesting, just to see what kind of data we lose by using our cell phones. Go to YouTube and look for Your Phone Company is Watching, Multi-Spitz. The next one is another really great video about privacy and securities. It's another TED Talk. Alessandro Acquisiti, or however you say his name, Why Privacy Matters. So go check this one out also. The next link I have for you is a New York Times article, In Secret Court Vastly Broadens Powers of NSA, the NSA being the National Security Agency, the agency which is one of the main agencies for monitoring people and keeping, security in America, right? Privacy and security. In more than a dozen classified rulings, the nation's surveillance court has created a secret body of law, giving the National Security Agency the power to mask vast collections of data on Americans while pursuing not only terrorism suspects, but also people possibly involved in nuclear proliferation, espionage, and cyber attacks, officials say. So the main line here, right, is that court has created a secret body of law giving the National Security Agency the power to amass vast collections of data on Americans, right? Vast collections, the power to amass vast collections of data on Americans. So that's a really interesting article. Take a look at that. New York Times, In Secret Court Vastly Broadens Powers of NSA. The next thing which is really interesting to know about and good to know about and essential to know about is this guy, Edward Snowden. And so I already showed you right here this poster where they didn't like it when he violated their privacy. So the National Security Agency doesn't mind looking into your lives, but if you look into what's going on with them, they don't really like it. And so Edward Snowden felt that a lot of what the government was doing really sort of violated America's rights, and that's not what America is all about. And we have the Fourth Amendment, which ensures due procedure, and we have to have a warrant before being searched. And so he grabbed a whole bunch of documents and he just ran. He went to Hong Kong and now he's in Russia. And he released a few of these documents revealing some of what the government is doing, and has threatened to release more, and slowly, is choosing with some reporters what information to release. But America wanted to bring him back and try him as a traitor, for treason. And, so right now he's sort of on the lam. He's been given refuge, asylum in Russia. And anyhow, take a look at this phone interview here where he first kind of released a video about why he did what he did. Edward Snowden interview, the U.S. government will say, I aided our enemies, NSA whistleblower. That's the name of the video. It came out July 9th, 2013. This is at The Guardian is the source, right? The whatever. So that's the people who published this one. So really great video. And unfortunately, only 32,000 people have watched it. Kind of says something about the level of concern or lack of concern of most people for these issues. Here's another really interesting article, The Top 5 Things We've Learned About the NSA Thanks to Edward Snowden. And you can find this at Ars Technica, however you say that. And so if we scroll down here to the things we've learned, American telephone companies, American telcos, are compelled to routinely hand over metadata to the government. Digital surveillance programs capture vast amounts of data. PRISM and X-Keyscore are two of them. U.S. companies have done little to resist government pressure to give data to the government. The NSA's sister organization, the GCHQ, does what the NSA can't. NSA analysts even use capabilities to spy on their exes. So the analysts at the NSA were using the capabilities that they had at the office to spy on people just for personal interest. What has happened since? As a way to prevent future leaks, NSA has fired nearly all of its system admins. Privacy-minded email providers shut themselves down under pressure. So there's some email providers that provided secure private email, and the government said, give us all of your data. And they said, nope, we're going to close. And so they went out of business instead of giving their data to the government. The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court opened up and published docket and opinions. Patriot Act authors said the NSA's interpretation is overbroad. So the person who authored the Patriot Act, right, which in itself stripped away a lot of rights, said the NSA is going too far. And congressional reforms have been introduced. They remain slow moving. And so these are both positives right here in terms of protecting privacy. You can also find other resources like CNN and things like that for looking at, Snowden in the news. NSA whistleblower talks Snowden, right? So that's CNN broadcasters out there, which is, if you're really into Snowden, watch that one also. So some more information that's come out recently about what the government's been doing in terms of monitoring. The NSA monitored calls of over 35 world leaders after U.S. officials handed over contacts. So the French and the Mexicans have recently been in the news, right, for being really pissed off. I've mentioned that before. So fresh leak on spying. NSA accessed Mexican president's email. And here, we see more changes that are just sort of occurring. Security check now starts long before you fly, also at the New York Times. The Transportation Security Administration is expanding its screening of passengers before they arrive at the airport by searching a wide array of government and private databases, that include records like car registration and employment information. It is unclear precisely what information the agency is relying upon to make these assessments, given the extensive range of records it can access, including tax identification number, past travel itineraries, property records, physical characteristics, and law enforcement or intelligence information. The measures go beyond the background check the government has conducted for years called Secure Flight, in which passengers' name, gender, and date of birth are compared with terrorist watch lists, right? So now the search includes using a traveler's passport number, which is already used to screen people at the border, and other identifiers to access systems of databases maintained by the Department of Homeland Security. So just kind of interesting, and then that's not saying that all this is bad, right? We do need to have security, but at what cost? How much privacy do we give up? So a few years ago, 2006, 2007, PBS did this really great series called Spying on the Home Front. And, mid-2000s, right? They kind of looked at what had happened since 9/11 and how much had the government moved into spying on the home front. And so this is a super great 2-hour program, totally worth watching. And a permanent war against a hidden enemy, how far has the government gone in hunting terrorists by watching us? Another really great resource, which I think is informative about just sort of Big Brother and the actions of spying and everything. This came out right after 9/11. It's Fahrenheit 9/11, so at least go watch the trailer. And Fahrenheit 9/11 looks at the Patriot Act and just sort of like how the government responded to 9/11 and some of the changes that were instituted and how they were instituted. So take a look at that one. And then finally, or maybe not finally, there's a lot of resources here. 60 Minutes did another really interesting piece, A Face in the Crowd, Say Goodbye to Anonymity. I don't know how to say that word. And A Face in the Crowd, Say Goodbye to Anonymity. So take a look at the 60 Minutes. Facial recognition now allows really interesting things to occur. And why privacy matters, Alessandro will talk about that a little bit in his video. But here's 60 Minutes. Speaking about how the technology really allows the government to now just have one picture and they know from that picture very often who that person is. The Lives of Others is a great, great, great movie. It's a foreign movie, and it talks about the Stasi in Berlin. So this won Best Foreign Film in 2007 maybe, And so go watch the trailer, and if you like the trailer, go see the movie. And so it's just an insight of a previous government that existed, no longer exists, East German government, and part of whatever the entire Cold War Russia thing. The Berlin Wall fell in 1989, and since then, Germany's been united, and the East German government's gone away. But when the East German government existed, they had police called the Stasi, and their role was to monitor people for unpatriotic activities. And so this movie's about a Stasi officer who lives a kind of lonely life, and he starts monitoring this writer, an artist, and he actually ends up really sort of becoming very interested in this artist's life and feeling some connection with him. So the Stasi officer is torn because his job, his duty is to monitor him and report activities which might be suspicious. However, he's kind of developed this voyeuristic empathy by watching this author, this writer, and he cares for the guy and he doesn't want to do anything, right? So it's a really great movie about just governments monitoring their citizens. So the next thing, we start to go into a little bit of a conspiracy theory, and this is all speculation, but I find it to be interesting speculation. If you start looking into this area, this sometimes comes up, and so this video will kind of lay it out, both sides of the argument, which I think is really good. And it's stuff they don't want you to know, Facebook, and it's by how stuff works. And basically, there's this Facebook conspiracy that Facebook is really just a big monitoring program where the government's able to see who's doing what, when, and where, because we all upload photos and posts, and really documents a lot of our lives. And so is the government actually working with Facebook, or are they behind Facebook? That's what this video explores. And if you go to YouTube and search for Facebook conspiracy theory, you'll see some of the conspiracy theory videos about Facebook out there. All right, so that's a little bit about privacy and security, and a lot of super interesting resources for you to check out. This big chunk right here of resources, which will really sort of flesh out the field of privacy and security and some of the stuff that's going on, and help you be more informed about just what's happening in that arena right now in the world.